So now we will focus on object-oriented programming. First, we'll understand what is the importance of object-oriented, then like why we are going and all these things. So Python is a language which is object-oriented programming in nature. Whether you use the classes or not till now, so we call it as a object-oriented programming. First of all, let's see what do you mean by object-oriented programming. If you can recognize anything individually like an object, so we call it as an object-oriented programming. So if I can start helping to you. So in object-oriented programming, there will be basically four principles. The four principles are like data binding. Means we will have variables and functions. Functions are called as methods here, and we bind them together like a single object. So till now we have basic data types, right? Integer, int, float, all these things, basic data types, and also data structures like list, tuple, set, and dictionary. If certain problems can't be solved there, in their cases we need to go for object-oriented programming, where you want to create your own kind of object. So in which case we need that kind of object, how we can address that, let's see that. If I can see first, it has like data binding. Encapsulation means I will tell you what are the public, private, and protected variables, how the data hiding works, and all these things. Next, inheritance concept, single inheritance, multiple inheritance, and others. And polymorphism means the same thing exhibiting differently in different use cases. Hope you know, till now we are using plus operator. But did you observe that the same plus operator can be used between two integers, two strings, two lists? In different places, you call it with different names, right? But still it has the same. So that is what like polymorphism means, the same thing exhibiting different behavior in different scenarios. If to understand more about this object-oriented programming, so let's say first we are going with the first set of ops, the basic oops about it. Let's start work on it. If I can start in it, let's say first I will solve a problem without object-oriented programming, and I will tell like what is the need for object-oriented, oops, and so and so. But like I'm telling again, whether you use objects or not, Python is a object-oriented programming, whether you use classes or not. Then what is the point of going to classes? I will tell. Let's take a small scenario where you want to implement some solution. You are creating a savings bank account. Savings bank account where you want to facilitate the transactions. There were two customers you want to create. Customer one have like so initially when creating account the balance is 0. Subsequently they will do deposit of 1000, balance is 1000. Then they will withdraw 200, so balance is 800. Similarly, customer 2 also has a initially they create account, they added like a balance of 3500 and subsequently withdrawn 550, so balance is this thing. So it's a very simple solution. You need to maintain two things like this. So how do you maintain? So we can take like two functions like deposit. That's all right. Deposit means you take the amount and you do the deposit. Need to implement it. Similarly, withdraw. Withdraw, if you give the amount, so we need to do the action. So we have two functions, right? Okay. And after that, I write like this. See how I write a typical function. The skeleton first I'm making. Slowly, I'm trying to write the program. So any person can develop the things like this. Let's say I take the first person name like Priyanka, and for her like you want to create the balance. Say initially for Priyanka, I want to make some deposit of some 1000. So the moment I want to make 1000, so maybe like I'll like a global variable plus balance. Balance equal to 0. Initially 0, right? Is balance is 0. Then I do the withdrawal and update. So I deposit of 1000 means what? For the balance, I need to add this value, right? The balance plus equal to amount. So yeah, balance plus equal to amount. So don't you agree? You did a deposit. Okay. After doing a deposit, Maybe like if you want, you can write like here one more statement that depositing some amount. Similarly, after depositing, we want to display what is the current balance. Say if I'm trying to print the current balance. Now, if I navigate to this file and execute it, copy path, Python, you see now, initially I made a deposit of 1000. I should see the 1000. What is saying? Hey, cannot access local variable before using. Means like, so you created a immutable object, right? If you do any changes within the function, will they reflect outside? No. And you cannot do local changes because that variable is not there inside. You are trying to update the value which you are not passing into it. Hope you remember, I showed this error. Unbound error comes whenever you're trying to update a variable which was not created within it. So if you want to make changes locally, and two, the changes should go globally means you need to define them as global, right? Hope you remember. So when I worked with functions, I told. So the moment you did it, so it will do the changes. So initially balance is 0. Then we deposited 1000. Now the balance is 100. It is correct. Similarly, now I want to deposit like some more amount. The same person, I want to deposit some more amount. Say 2500 I want to deposit on the same person. You see, I execute again. I deposited, I got so and so. This is also great. Now for the same person, Priyanka, I want to do some kind of withdrawal. Means I want to withdraw some 750. The same logic, right? Whatever you learned there, based upon that, you can do here. So we can understand that we can take global should be there. So instead of deposited, we should say like, withdrawn, right? So we should say like withdrawn. And like instead of plus equal to, we should say minus equal to. So now if I execute, you can notice that initially you deposited 1000, you got it. Then 2500, you got it. Totally balance is 3500. Again, you withdrawn 750, you got the values. Fine. So like this, for one person, we made a transactions. Let's say now for another person, I want to do this time. Let's say I want to take Uday. So for Uday, I want to create a initial account balance. I am using the same variable called as balance, right? Say like for the Uday, if I want to create also new account, did you see what happened? So balance is directly this thing. So don't you think this is a problem? Now, did you understand the problem? So with functions, we can solve certain problems. But I told you, functions we can use individually. So, but like if you want functions and variables to use together, like a piece, we cannot solve in an ordinary functions. Sir, in functional oriented programming, can't we solve these problems? Means we can solve, but it takes a lot of effort. Let's take the same problem, how I solve without using classes, and how hard it is to solve there. If it is just for one variable, it is like that. If you have more variables, things will be much more difficult. Again, coming back to the previous solution, what are I wrote? The same problem I'm writing. And what are the previous functions I have, right? I will do the same thing. I earlier have like balance and all these things, right? See, the same problems I have. I just copy them and paste it here. I have these things. Now, the problem we understood here is that whenever you're creating the accounts for any person, so you are having a problem. So then like instead of maintaining this balance as something, I want to create like, another function and I want to store it there. Means instead of relying that, I can say like, so create account. I'm writing one function called as create account. So whenever you're doing a create account, return, I'm returning a dictionary containing like, balance 0. So instead of relying on a variable, so I am doing like this now. Now what happens whenever you want to create an account? So we need to refer this like this. Say like Priyanka is a person for whom I need to create an account. So then like I should say initially that, Priyanka is equal to create account. If I do create account, so it will create the account. So initially the balance, whatever you are doing, will be like this 0. And if you want to access the value, I told you. So, let me comment these things for you to better understand. So I just created account called as Priyanka. Now, if I ask, hey, what is Priyanka? So you can understand that, so if I comment these two things for a moment, you can understand, right? So whenever someone uses a create account, I'm just doing what? Creating a dictionary and returning it. If I say clear and Python 01 so and so, did you understand what's happening now? I'm getting a dictionary, right? Containing balance equal so and so. And if I want to access this person's balance, so what should I say? So person of balance, right? I should say balance. If I ask, then I will get what is the balance is 0. So instead of acting like an ordinary variable, I need to do. Now you see here, the same process I do. So when you are able to access the person's balance, at the same time when you are withdrawing and doing also, instead of just passing amount, we need to pass the person on which account you want to do. So I will pass like account and then balance. And here also when withdrawing, I will pass the account and withdraw. So instead of a global variable, so now I do the changes with respect to that. So what are the changes I want to do? Means like instead of doing that, so what I'll do instead of a deposit like this. So this account, whomever you are passing, in that account, I'm taking the balance and I'm doing a plus equal to or minus equal to it. Plus equal to amount. Did you understand? Instead of directly doing. Similarly, in withdrawal also same thing. Instead of taking this global variable anyhow, so instead of like this, what I do, what are the account you do? With that account, you need to take a balance plus equal to, sorry, minus equal to, right here, minus equal to amount. This is how you do. And if you want to facilitate also, the same things will happen. See now what happens? Yeah. As I told you, we need to get the balances like this. So when you pass the balances, you can get them. And every time when you're doing deposit, we should say the account name on which you want to pass. Account name you want to pass. Account name you want to pass. So now you see, as a cluster, things will happen. And if I execute, did you see? So for Priyanka, things are working good, right? So initially I made a deposit of 1,000, you're getting, so balance is 1,000. Next 2,500, balance is 3,500. 750, balance is 2,750. All good, right? Now similarly, if I want to create again for the new person, say like, so a new account you want to create. So I can do the same thing. Say, I want to create for Uday. So I can say like, Uday is equal to create account. A new account will be created. And for this account, I can do all actions. So, I can print the current balance and all these things. If I do again, so say the first account initially deposits or something, if I want to do, you can notice that, right? So instead of Priyanka, so I need to replace with him. So for Uday, I want to create. So I pass the same variable. So whomever. Now the point is, so one person's transaction should not affect the other. That's the point, right? Else I will go to a biggest bank and open an account. So you know, see here, initially the balance is 0. So that is what is expected, right? So how you solve this problem? You are solving this problem by doing this much task. But this can be done much easily if you go for a object-oriented programming. So mainly with our classes. So before we even going to solve this problem with classes, first I will tell you how to work with classes. What are classes? Then slowly we will understand the remaining things. So to understand that, let's go this time to a Jupyter notebook. If I go for a IPVNB, I tell like, Object-oriented programming, right? OOP. So OOP will have like things. So you need to understand that in Python there are two types of classes. One is like old style classes and new style classes. Old style classes are in Python too. Of course, you don't even need to understand. But still, if you have heard about any word called as old style classes, it is in Python too. That's why for every class they will use object as a base thing. New style classes are there in both Python 2 and 3. So in Python 2, you don't need right now, but like just I'm telling this word that it is there. And one more thing you need to understand about functions before starting is that, okay, remember I told Pipe told that the class name should be in camel case and others can be in any other case. Sorry, underscore case. Now first, how these functions are there, how the function call will be there. If I say like a typical function, how we need to do? Define hello. This is how you define, right? So maybe like within that you do a pass or do something. I told pass is the statement we give whenever you don't want it to be executed, but like you want the syntax to be there. So that is the thing I told, right? You see now, I need to select the kernel. Yeah, selected, fine. Okay, yeah, she here. So this is how you define a function. And if I say function call, how do you make a function call? You say like hello. This is how you understood, right? Till now, a function definition, function call. So you define 100 functions until unless you make a call, nothing will happen. In the same fashion, let's go for the class definition. So we need to use the keyword called as class, and after that we should say the class name. Say like I'm saying symbolically empty class, and here I'm writing like pass. I'm not doing anything. I'm just defining a class. Similarly, for a class, calling we call, right? For a class, we don't do a calling. So for class, we say instantiation. Simple. So it's like like a blueprint you create. Class is like a blueprint, and instances are the things from it. Let's say you have a car blueprint. So from if you have blueprint, car will not come, right? Based upon this, you create a class. So car. In the same fashion, for classes, we call it instantiation. Instantiation means it's a process of creating a class from the this thing. So this is how you make a call. The moment you make a call to the class, you get it. I think this format is not that good. Let me change the theme color. Hope it's clear. So E1 is equal to empty class you made. So if I create now, it will create this E1. Now, if I ask, hey, what is the type of, uh, so, hello. Hello is like a function, right? Earlier you created a function, that is what. Similarly, if I say, hey, what is the type of this empty class? So it says it's of type type actually, instead of saying like it's of type class. And similarly, if I ask, hey, what is the type of this E1 which you created? Now, did you all understand? Till now, for functions, things are different. But coming back to the classes, if I for the this one for a class, if I ask what's the type, it says of type. If I say like for this one instance, if you ask what is the type, I am part of the underscore main, means in the main function I have. Just imagine like whatever you write in a main program, that is under a main class, you can think. So it is subclass to the main class, and it has like the I am part of this main underscore empty class, like that it says precisely. So with this, you understood about how to create a class. Now going further with one more thing, like what is the point of going for a classes? Class is having 2 points, okay? Every class will have two things, functions and variables. Together it will bind, together binding them. How will bind both functions and variables together? Let me show you one example. So earlier you wrote a small class without anything. So here also I do this again class. Say this time my class name. I told that it should be camel casing. That's why. If I say like, number is equal to say 786. So these are like called as class variables. Okay, class variable. I can have a number. I can have like, some name is equal to something. So my string something. These are like class variables. Class will have variables and also like functions. Define hello. So for a class, we need to pass something called as self. I will tell you shortly what is that. For every function within the class, first argument should be self. So for this function, say I am returning hello world, hello world. So these are called as methods. So functions which are defined in class are called as methods. Note functions defined in class are called methods. So they have self as first argument. Of course, this definition is slightly different. Down the line, I will tell. But typically, you need to understand this is how you create a class and variables. Sir, what is the point of creating like this? I told it's like a template. From that, I need to create instance, right? I told there is something called as instantiation. This is a class definition. Class definition. Similarly, we need to say class. So call, right? That is called as instantiation. For a function, you define and make a call. So instantly here also, you are creating an instance from it and you're making a call. If I ask, it says, hey, I am part of the main. See, by default, if you create a class, it's part of the main. Under that, I am part of this class object. I have these things. Now, like in your built-in objects, here also we can ask, hey, dir of this C1, the instance which was created. For this, if I ask, it shows a lot of attributes are there. Even if I ignore the things which have underscores on either side, it's too big of thing. So I will have what is needed. Say like what I will do for each attribute in dir of so and so. So if each attribute dot starts with underscore, I don't want that. So it's like if I don't want not, then I want to print each attribute. Now things will be very easy. So too much things are coming, of course. I will tell you all of them afterwards. But you have like three things. So name, hello, name. So all these things came. So what is the point? You have name, number, and like a hello. It didn't differentiate what is a function and so and so. It didn't tell you specifically. But you understood these are attributes. Now what I can do, if I can ask like, hey print of f of, like multiple strings. F strings I did in one place such that you can see everything in one place. So what I want to show is like, this C1, which are created, C1 dot number you want to see. And similarly, you want to see like, C1 dot name is equal to C1 dot hello. You see what happened now? You got all of them together in one place. C1 dot name means you got what are you defined in the top. You see, you defined like, so 86. These are two variables, right? Class variables. You are able to access two class variables directly. Similarly, for the functions, wherever any variable, if you are asking and it is showing like this, it means like it is a function that you need to understand. For a function, we need to make a call. See, I will make sure that both are placed so that you will understand clearly. You see now, when you made. So if you want like a unit, you created like a unit, right? Function containing both the things together. So this is how you access actually. And one more thing. So here, these are variables and this is function. How can you know whether something is callable or not? Hope you remember I told something like callable. There is a built-in function I told, right? If you pass like, C1 dot hello, as it is a function, it says it's callable equal to true. So for this, okay, if I say for this itself here, say callable of c1 dot hello. As it is a function, it says callable equal to true. And similarly, I told like, the above name and the number are there. For them, if I say, hey, number, is it callable means it says that. You see now, callable means false and true. Means, hope you understood, right? And also in terms of accessing the values, till now, how you are accessing the values? C1 dot name, like that you are accessing, right? So not only this, you can also access with another built-in function called as getAttr. If you have any instance, from that you can access the name. You get it? Oh, sorry. Yeah, string. It should be like a course. It's not a variable, right? Yeah. So either you access like this or like this. Any attribute can be done. Hope it's clear. And also, if you want to check for an attribute, so you cannot say like c1 dot something. It will throw in error. The better strategy is like you can say has attr is another built-in function. If I say like some, if I say if it is present or not, it will tell. So if it is present, I can access. If you want to check for presence of any attribute or so and so, that is how. So either like that you can do, or you can also do like the same sum in dir of c1. It's false, right? So both can be done. So which is so simple, right? This is much more easy, right? To access and check for something. So that is more easy. Similarly, okay, you created a class here in the top. I am telling you, you have this function. You got the values of these things. Sir, can I change them? Yes. So if I ask again, hey, c1 dot number, it will show something, right? I can change this number to say some 7 8 something else. And if I ask hey, subsequently, hey, what is the number? It says like it was changed. But if you create another instance, it won't change. I will tell you that also shortly. So this is how you create the things. And one more thing, let me create one more class. Say class empty class. If I create and I don't do anything. If you see sometimes syntax in any old classes that it will have like object. So this is like new style class syntax in Python 2. In Python 2, if you want to create a new style class, this is how you create. So in Python 3, this object is optional. You don't need to create any more like this. You can just do like this. So without anything. So this is no more needed. This is the old style class. Say again, I created this class called as empty class. Now I can do one thing. So I am creating like, so E1 is equal to empty class. I created two things now. Now there is C1 is there. So then like E1 is there. Two classes are created with two separate classes, right? Instances are created. Now what else I can do? So I can check whether it is part of the same class or not. So till now type checks if we do, I'll get like this. But if I have two instances, I want to check whether both are from the same class or not or something. So I can do with something called as isInstance. This is another built-in function. If I say C1 comma my class, yes, C1 is an instance which was created from my class. So it will say true. Is C1 created from this empty class? No. So that's why false. So like that for anything you can check using the isInstance. So not only that, this isInstance can help you even with the built-in functions also. If I have an integer like 123, 123 is an int, right? So to check whether it is part of int or not, you can check like this. For the type checks, instead of using the type built-in function, now you have a better examples to do. Similarly, like, so I can do something like this. See here, I took like number one is equal to something, and I'm checking is number one is type of so-and-so. So for direct integers, one more thing you need to understand is like, so if you use type of function with a is, it is good. They don't say for checking types, you don't use equal, they say, if you use the type built-in function. So, but like isInstance can work. So both are ways you have. Now I will help you understand like how to do a proper real world example of a class. Till now you understood how to create a class, how to create methods, variables. Let's go for the real example. So in a real example, let's say I want to create a class. Say I want to take a person. Person means like what will have a person by default. Person will not will get birth, right? So these are the two things. For every class, we'll have like class definition, and then like we have class instantiation. Class instantiation. Okay. So class instantiation means you make a call to this and get the values. So how do you do? So I can make a person like this. And in the process, you may assign to something such that you can make use of it. Say P1 I created. So this is how you create a class, right? And if I ask when you're creating itself, if I ask, hey, so there is one more, if I say like, DAR, oh, 1 second. Yeah, if I ask like, DAR of P1, you can see a lot of attributes are coming. Earlier also showed all these things. There are too many things. Whether you use or not, they are there. And like, so lot of attributes are there. And one such attribute is called as underscore underscore dict. So we will focus on this now. If I say print of p1 dot underscore underscore dict, did you see that it is empty right now? And similarly, there is one more built-in function called as vars. For the first time, you will see something called as vars. Vars is a new function which you see right now. So any class, sorry, any variable or any object which has this attribute called as underscore underscore dict. So we can access that with a vars function also. Either this or this both can be done for anything. Now from now onwards, for every class instance you will see that. But sir, it is empty because you didn't do anything. Now let me create one more. For this class, I will add some things like some variables. Say like basically what are the common things that this class people will have. Say like they have a nationality. So something like, say like they are part of like Indians. Okay, Indians. Whoever the names may be different, but they will have the common things like nationalities, Indians. And like, so how do you, okay, I'll create just a name. That's it. Nothing more. Now, did you see? So in a vars, you don't get the class variables. So it is designed only gets the instance variables. What is this, sir? For the first time you're hearing, right? So these are class variables. What is this instance variables? How it comes? So let me tell, like, if you are given a name, so there is something called as underscore underscore init underscore underscore. For the first time, you will learn this. So what is this? This is called as a constructor. So this is a method, in fact, like any other method, it is also defining. So, and we have like this one. And this is called as constructor method. What do you mean by constructor? Constructor means this is the default method gets executed. Default method defaultly executes when instance is born. Means no one will execute it. It will automatically born. Maybe like you can write for this in like a method. So I told, right, for everything we can have a doc strings also. I can write it like a doc string. How I can do? If I do, it's like a documentation string. But I didn't do anything. But you see right now, did you see? You are not getting anything here, right? But fine. So so when a person is there, by default, any person will have what? He will have a name, right? The date of birth on which they were born, and like that small things. Let's say for this person, so he has a name. Self dot name is equal to something. I give like say Uday I give. So no, if I execute right now, did you see? You got it. Self dot name there is a difference between self dot this and outside. If you define something outside, it is called as class variable. If you define within the instance with a self, that is called as instance variable. Instance variable. But like if I create another instance right now, for that instance also it will be like this. So p2 is equal to person I create, and if I say like hey vars of p2, for that guy also it is coming the same, because I hard coded here. But in real time, people will not do like this. Whenever they're creating the person itself, they will pass. Means I have to make it easy, I'm removing the unnecessary things. So for you to understand, along with this, they will pass the name. So instead of hard coding like Uday, we should pass like name, whatever is coming. Now this time, what will happen whenever you're creating instances? So if I do like this, observe what happened. So till now, when you're creating an instance, you're making a call. But when you're doing this thing, observe very, very carefully. This is most important. Anytime when you create a constructor, we should agree to how many attributes are passed. Self is the default argument which will pass. Means which are the instance you are passing, it will go there. It is like if you do like this, or like if I say the other way, it will work in the same way. I will tell you shortly. But whenever you are passing like this, we should honor. So if you are passing name, so there are two arguments, right? So the instance p1 will go, though you pass like this, one will go. So you should pass the name. Say like if I say Uday right now, and if I say like print of vars of say p1. Now if you execute, did you see now the instance came? Now if I do the same thing with another variables, say like so p2 is equal to same person of say like Prakash. So if I say like so vars of p2, I get all the instance variables. And similarly, if I say p3 is equal to person of say like something, say Ram. If I do like vars of p3, you get it. Did you all understand now the concept of what all these things? And on top, for all these three people, this nationality will be the same. So if I say like p1 dot nationality is equal to p2 dot nationality is equal to p3 dot nationality. So that would be the same for every person. Oh, sorry, I need to do like so one of them. If I ask like you see, if I do like assert means if it is wrong, it will throw an error, right? It is not true. Means the instance variable will change from person to person, but the class variables will be the same for all of them. So, and this is how you pass it. And whenever I'm creating like this, I'm saying like p1 equal to so and so. Then what is this concept of self, sir? How it is working? So for you to simply understand, so dir will give all attributes, whereas so vars will give only instance related attributes. Okay. And class related attributes will not change for every class. Everyone will have the same thing, but this will change. Now going further, if I go ahead, so if I want to do, and what is the importance of this constructor? Did you ever call this constructor? No, it will be automatically called. And one more thing is that there should not be any return. So if you say like for ordinary functions you do a return, right? If I say return none also, you don't return anything, but you write a return, but it is not recommended. Say like return something, it will throw an error. See here, it should return only none. If you don't return anything, it is so and so. So this is one you should be aware of. So no return should be mentioned for constructor. That's one more thing. So constructor, which will be automatically called. Just imagine like a person. The moment a person is born, right? So what all things he should have, he or she, those things will be replacing here. So similarly, I will add more attributes. Maybe like, so this time to make the things easy, I'll removing all of them so that you can focus on these details. A person is born, okay, he will have a name, he or she will have a gender. So I can mention that. I can say like, self dot gender is equal to the gender. So now I created a person. This time if I say, so P1 is equal to, with uh, P1 I create person. I say like, Shruti. And I want to say like, female. Like this I passed 2 arguments. Now if I say like, hey, vars of P1, you can notice that it is containing 2 things right now. And like, so if I want to facilitate one of the default arguments, hope you remember the concept which I told earlier. So female, if I say default argument, one of them is default, you can mention like this. Now for the second person, if I say P2 is equal to same person of Priyanka, if I say I am not passing anything, so if I say right now print of vars of P2, in the same lines if I say here print of vars of P1, so and similarly if I say P3 is equal to same person of say Uday, and like so male, so if I say like print of vars of P3, now observe the difference. This time it has a single attribute, and also again these attributes will not change, it will have all the same thing only. If I say like so assert, as I told, so P1 dot nationality so is equal to P2 dot nationality is equal to P3 dot nationality, it won't change. But like these you are making like this, like default arguments also we can have. And also I'm writing like some more attributes. So for this, if I do like this, define, so display uh, details, display details. So till now any function you're passing, you don't do anything, whereas here you need to pass self, that is the main thing. Till now for any function, whenever you're passing, you need to pass the external variables inside, then use it. But within a class method, as you are passing self, what are defined with self, you can use directly. It means like I want to display something like this, say, so F name is say self dot name, and gender is something like this, self dot gender. Okay, so now if you execute, you get it right. Okay, this is how it works. Then subsequently you have like this, these are called as instance methods. Instance methods. Now I'm modifying my previous statement. I told every method will have self as an argument, right? So those are called as instance methods. There are different kinds of methods like this, I will tell you shortly afterwards. But this is how you do. At the same time, I want to give you some small assignment. You understood till now about the vars?
Uday,
Vars is like applicable.
hello.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I have a question that you created one instant method, right?
Mhm,
Different display details self and
mhm.
printf. What is the output of this method? We have to call this method.
Yes, I am. Yes, a good question. So I didn't execute till now, right? Yeah, thank you. So if I say dot display details, if I execute, now if you see,
So whatever the P1,
yes,
it
yes,
will execute.
yes.
Okay, okay, got
See, vars is not showing the values, right? So attributes. So we need to do dir again to get those attributes. If I do dir, I will get it. So I'll get a list of everything. If I say like print of dir of so and so. See now, yeah, thank you for so helping me. You see now, along with these attributes, you can see the gender and name and display name. So vars will not display even the instance methods. They will display only these things. So if you want to do, so p1 dot display details, if I ask, I get it. So and p1 dot display details means this thing. So p2 dot display details, I got it. So p3 dot display details, I got it. So like that. So how it is getting all this information? When I did p2, it is passing like this. So indirectly, for you to understand how it is actually doing in the backend is for the person, you have like person name, right? That person name, it is passing like this. If I say person dot display details of p3, p3, like this also you can do. So either you can do like this or like this. Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer like remembering the class name and the attribute and do the everything?
No.
So
Instance.
you prefer like the first way, right? So now to help you to understand what is the self doing means like this. Whenever you call like this, so whenever you calling like this, it will convert indirectly in the backend like this. So wherever you have self, so self is like a placeholder for us. Did you all understand? Self is the placeholder for the instance being passed, because we don't know what is the name of the instance we create and how many instances we pass also we don't know. So it should be flexible, a generic name. And one more thing to remember is that self is not a keyword. Not a keyword. You remember? Instead of self, I can do like Uday I can pass or some other name I can pass. But so Pip8 recommends. Pip8 recommends to use it. Because like everyone is using it. If I use suddenly a new variable, so if someone is coming to my program and seeing for the first time, they will be confused like what is this kind of new variable, right? To avoid that, we use it. Hope you understood.
Yes.
Fine.
One question, Uday.
Yes, please.
If we use the same variable in other class and call it from outside, will it how will it work?
If I use the same variable in another class,
Yeah, if like P1 we are using in another class and call that.
no, it won't go. That's what I'm trying to say. If something is part of this instance only, we can use those attributes, right? Is instance, if I say is instance of p1 is of person type true, we can use it. Earlier, remember, you have a empty class, right? So can I do that? Because like every class will have an attribute. I cannot ask like display name for this, right? Display details for this earlier created empty class. I cannot pass this one. Of course, this empty class don't even have this attribute. Then also it doesn't work. Did I understand your question correctly?
Yeah.
So whatever the class when you define, in that class, what are the methods you define? Only those you can use with that class. And the instances also we can use only with respect to them. You cannot use others. So let me give you like one more example. Say like for you to understand, maybe like I'll create a instead of a person, let me create a animal class animal. Oh, sorry, class animal. So I told like constructor animal. So this is a syntax that you see most of the time. This is called like typing to say that it will return none. So we'll go again when you're saying whether you use directly like this or without doing also fine. Any name is there. Every animal will have a name, right? Or like so animal name is something. What are the name you pass? The same thing will go. If I pass like a name, okay. So if I create like some animal, and for that if I say um, for the some attributes I'm doing like a walk of self, if I do, what are the animal comes? I just print it. Self dot name walks. If I want to do, I created some small class to help you understand. As you know, if I do like animal directly, it will throw an error because it's expecting one attribute. If I say animal of like say duck, it will execute now. So similarly, animal of so something I just created, and when creating itself, if I can access to something like a1 is equal to something duck. If I say like a1 dot so walk, I can do it will execute. Similarly, I can execute for the other attributes also. So in this case here, this is a constructor, right? Do you agree? Constructor, and this is a instance method. Hope you understood what are attributes and instance methods. And like vars will give only the details with respect to the vars will give only the instance variables, not other details will give, right? Even instance methods also will not be given by vars. So again, if I do dir only, I'll get all those details. So if I say a1, you get all the details, right? Including this. And also you understood the importance of self, as I told you. Similarly, if I go with one more example, yeah. Earlier, you remember we solved these problems, right? The problem of the bank deposits. So without having a classes, how we faced the problem, how we have addressed it, we have seen. Now with classes also, we need to address this problem, right? Let's solve this problem with classes. So 0th. So solving with classes .py. I'm just now creating a .py file so that I want you to be comfortable in either way. So what is the problem that we faced if I can reconfigure? So there are two customers we need to create. The customer should have an account and they should have the details. Means what? Two things they need to have. Every customer should have the balance also, the functions also. All together we need to have like a group. That is a problem which we couldn't solve. For that we did with a different way, difficultly. Now let me address that problem here. First, I will create a class account. I created an account. The account should have two things. One, the balance, and second one, the functionalities. So define underscore underscore init of like this. So self dot, so every account holder will have some balance, right? I can say like balance is initially 0 because a zero balance account will be created, right? The moment you create an account, balance is 0. And similarly, the account holder name, account holder is equal to some name. Till now both the names may not be same. You can have different name also, right? I did like this. So balance is there, account holder name, both are there. Now for this account, you need to have a deposit. Deposit. You say earlier you remember. So you pass the first process like only account, then account and balance. Now you need not pass account every time because account is already there, right? So self if you pass, and if you pass like the amount, I can do with respect to the self. Means self dot what are the balance is there? Balance plus equal to amount. Now in this way if I do, so if I create like two accounts also, everyone's activity will not be affecting the others. In the same fashion, if I do like withdrawal also, I can do the same thing. So define, so withdrawal of self dot balance plus minus equal to. Now similarly, if I want to display the details also, I need not pass. Now did you understand what is the point of creating instance variables? Means you need not pass to everyone. As self is there, we can access with respect to self. Now I will show the actual implementation of it. So if I create, say like first person, say like Shruti. Shruti, if I create like account, I created. So when I just create an account and I'm asking like, hey, what is Shruti? Can I do directly like this? Any mistake I'm doing here? Is it clear? Is there any mistake?
So
Exactly. So whenever you're creating any class instance, we need to ensure what are is in constructor we need to pass. Yeah. So in the constructor we have a name. Name means what? We need to pass that name here. So if I'm creating for about Shruti, I need to pass that. If I do right now, it will work. It is saying like, yes, you have this like this. Now, initially, if you want to understand the balances of handles, you can get it. And if I say like vars of the Shruti, you can understand what is the vars. Initially, balance is this thing, account is so and so, right? And similarly, if I want to create one more person, say like this time, if I want to create someone like, Simona, and if I pass the same thing here, if you pass a wrong number, wrong name, that is your mistake. That is a logical error. But if you pass correctly, it will work. So two people are there, their initial balances are zeros, and their names are there. Now for these both people, let's try how it works. So initially, I want to deposit money. So when I want to deposit money, I need to say Shruti dot deposit, right? And 1,000. And similarly, if I say Simona, Simona dot deposit of say 300. So each one will not affect the others. So and also like before even doing anything, you can ask like for these people, for like for Shruti dot initial balance. And similarly, for this person, Simona also, like I can ask, hey, what is the initial balance? Simona, also initial balance. I can give like a empty print so that both will not be affected and you can see clearly. You see now? So initially both the balances, initially zero, like that you accessed and subsequently you deposited. After depositing, so we need to see like after depositing, what is the balance? So after deposit for like Shruti, I can ask, hey, what is the balance? And similarly here after deposit, I can ask the balance for like Simona, right? If you are referring to the wrong attributes, it's your mistake. But did you see? When you deposited 1,000, the balance is 1,000. Here balance is so and so. And similarly, for the persons, see, once activity is not getting affected by others, right? Shruti, if I want to do like a withdrawal, so withdrawal of say, I'm withdrawing some 400. And like after withdrawal, I want to display after with withdrawal, so balance. Similarly, for this person, like Simona, I am doing like so withdrawal of say 100, and after withdrawal, I can ask, hey, what is the balance? If I do exactly, did you see? So initially you deposited 1,000, then you withdraw so 400, so it is 600. You instead deposited 300, you withdrawn 100, it is 200. Now did you see? The activity of one person is not getting affected by other person, right? And that too, did we make anything complicated? No, we solved it very simply, right? This is the beauty of it. Now you understood about these things.
yeah, Uday, can you show one time the this problem without the classes? Just one time.
I already solved without classes, right? I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah, no,
understand.
yeah. I just want to just compare.
Yeah,
Okay,
you can just
okay,
back to see.
okay,
So
got it.
early, we need to create a class and maintain a dictionary of all the variables, and you are doing it without it.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Sure, fine. After this, to see like, so one more thing to say. To know more about this class variables and how it works and others, let me show with some example, and we can go ahead with other things. So going back 04. So class variables methods dot ipynb. So we are solving some practical problems. Again, we are going to concepts. Like that, we are doing both parallelly. So to understand for you to definition, I am creating now another class called as employee. And I told that if you pass like object like this also, or without that also, it makes no difference. But nowadays, as best practice, they say don't use it. In Pipades also, linters say they don't say. That's it. And when you're defining a class, so at the class level also, we can have documentation. I can define like this. And if you just want to create a class, I can do like this. If I do it, now you see here, it will create a small class. So I can ask like, hey, employee dot underscore underscore doc underscore underscore. If I ask, did you see I got the documentation? Whatever I do, I got it right. And so like that it works. But the point is not that. What I want to prove is that if I create a class, for this class, I want to make a count of all the employees within my organization. So then I will define a class variable called as employee count is equal to 0. You know, now you will understand what is the difference between class variables, when to use them, when to use the instance variables. If you are creating every time employees, means every time a new employee is coming to your class, means what all things an employee will have? Every employee will have a name, right? Name. And every employee will have some salary. So maybe like salary, I'm making like minimum as 2000 if I don't give. So defaultly, but other cases I'm passing. So now you see like person. So whenever like a new employee is joined, it will come to this class. So that is how it works, right? So to help you understand how it works, say new employee join. I want to tell. Now, what is the beauty I will tell? Say here, even if you don't do also, say if I say like E1 is equal to employee. If I pass like a name, maybe like so first um, Shruti E2 is equal to employee. Sorry. So like that, I am creating like 3 instances. If I just create the instances, did you see that the methods are automatically called? So now with this, we can understand that constructor is automatically called, right? So that's what I want to prove earlier also, but fine, it happened. So this is how it happens. Now going further to it, in this, I want to add the moment a new person is joined, he should have minimum few things, right? So the name of the person and what all the things that he or she should have. So whenever I define, I'm writing like this: employee name and salary. So obviously for these 3 people, whenever they created, they will have all these attributes. Just for you to be aware of, for the E3, I'm asking. If you see now, for the E3, you will have like, so employee name and salary. These 2 things are there. But did you see, every time a new employee is created, so we need to add this employee count. But the global count, we need to maintain, right? How many employees are there in your organization? And if you see self dot, this called as employee count is there, right? This employee count we can access here. Though we didn't define it, we can do it. And if I do like this, say like, so plus equal to 1. Of course, we should not do like this. Creation is different. Plus equal to is different. Plus means the existing value it is taking and adding by 1, right? So you see now what will happen. So for each other person I want to do, maybe like I want to print the same thing for each other person now. So print off. So print off. So vars of E1, vars of E2, vars of E3. You see now the differences. Did you see if I do like this, even if I do plus equal to also, so will affect only current instance, will not affect outside. I am trying to do every time, so plus equal to, right? So 3 times if I do, what will happen? 3 times it should increase. For the first one, it is 1, okay. For second one also 1, third one also 1. That is not expected, right? So that I will tell you now. The importance of class variables. Instead of that, if I do something like this, what is the class name? Employee. Dot. What is the class variable name? Employee count. Now plus equal to 1. Observe the difference. So in vars, you don't see the differences. But there is one more thing apart from vars. You have like, so employee, if I see here, so it won't show that self attribute. We need to access separately. With dir, we can get it. So if I say e1 dot employee count, so e1 dot employee count. So similarly here, e2 dot employee count, um, e2 dot employee count, and similarly e3 dot employee count. If I access right now, did you see that the employee count is 1, 2, 3? So don't you think like I can give the employee number also I can give, right? So a register number or something like that I can give. And overall, I can say like how many employees are created. In every instance, in the instance also we can understand. And the overall count also I can understand. Did you all understand what is the importance of it now? Any doubt? Yes, friends, is it clear?
Yes, Uday.
So what I'm trying to say, if you do like self dot plus equal to, even you can access the class variables. But what are the changes you do that will affect only the current instance. But if I do like this, it will affect the global level. And you can access those with respect to each of them. So in one way, we can give the employee ID also, right? What are the ID you get? Every employee, if you want to get some registration ID, you can do like this, right? So with that, I can say like, employee dot. So employee ID, if I want to give, can I give like this? Employee dot employee count, right? So now if I execute, every person will get a unique employee count, right? Employee ID I'm getting uniquely. So, and one more beauty here is that after getting this employee count or whatever might be, now every time instance is born, this is called as a constructor. Constructor means, so when it will be executed, so runs when instance is created, right? Created. Similarly, there is one more thing called as a destructor. So that is called as like, underscore underscore del underscore underscore self. You see now what will happen. So I say like, destructor is called. Now if I execute, did you ever see the destructor is called? No, right? So destructor will be called two things. Whenever you intentionally delete an instance or at the end of the program. So if I say like, delete, say E1. Did you see the construct destructor is called? Method is executed. And after that, if I say, hey, what is E1? It will throw an error because I don't know. Did you all understand what I'm trying to say? You can call destructors intentionally like this. I can say, see, so destructor del E3, if I want to delete like this, I can delete. Now the point is very simple. What I'm trying to say is that, what is the point of having this constructor and destructor? So I told when an employee is joined, it will happen. Similarly, when the employee is leaving the organization or terminated, So it will be called, right? When the destructor will be called? Can you tell? So employee is terminated or like with resigned. Either way, both sides. Either way, things will happen. Now, whenever employee was terminated or so obviously you want to decrease the employee count, right? Don't you see? You want to decrease the count. So in this process, I will increase. So initially, I create the employee 1, employee 2, and subsequently, I want to delete. So employee 1. So in this process, I want to tell, and I want to show this time right now to you. Now, did you see what will happen? In one example, I'm showing you the effect of how things are working. So constructor, destructor I am telling right now. So whenever destructor is counted, you want to reduce the count. Every time you should know the exact count of the people. So every person, first person is ID 1, second person is ID 2. So then like you got new person, employee was terminated. Did you see that the count was again 2 again? It is changing, right? So something like that you created. So in this case, you understood that when a person is withdrawn, so this count is reducing, right? So then like you need to maintain 2 IDs, one for the employee counts or employee IDs. 2 things you need to maintain to solve this problem. Hope you understood what I'm trying to say. Employee IDs, ID is equal to 0, and like employee count every time when it is decreasing, if you are assigning to this guy, then it will be a problem, right? This value should not be doing. So what I will do, I will take this employee IDs right now, and that one I will assign. So this employee ID, I am taking another variable called as employee IDs plus equal to 1, and I am assigning this employee IDs. And these employee IDs we won't decrease during the thing, because ID should be unique, right? Whether today employee comes, he joins, he withdraws, again he may come again. But if I say they give the same ID to 2 people, it will be difficult. To avoid that, I created 2 variables now. If I want to get the exact count, I use this one. For IDs, I am using the other one. Now we see here, you can have, right? So every employee ID who is creating will have a unique ID. So the total number of employees, whether they joined or not,